Okay, welcome back to Rand on Real Estate. I'm your host, Greg Rand, on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. We're going to take your calls a little bit later on in the show. The number here is 800-848-WABC. That's 800-848-9222. And what I want to hear from you on is, are you thinking about, have you thought about, have you dreamt about being a real estate mogul in your own right? You're not sure how to go about it. I hear this everywhere I go. That's why this show is here, is to start to bring some sound, reasoned strategy out there to teach you how the professional real estate investors that I spent my career working with, how they go about doing this, which is why we jumped in talking about Las Vegas in the last segment. Because what's interesting about that, when you hear about a catastrophic story like that, where there was all kinds of bad behavior in the last 10 years, they built 135,000 pieces of real estate for an audience that wasn't even there to move in. And why would anybody believe that that's going to somehow be remedied? And the answer really is in the big picture. If you stand way back from Las Vegas, what you see is that there are companies, not just the entertainment industry, which is growing in leaps and bounds out there, but they are diversifying their employment base largely because of what happened in the last bunch of years. And so like a company like Zappos, I don't know if you're familiar with Zappos. You ever buy shoes from Zappos?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I visited their headquarters when I was out there this week. I took a tour. And they are... so you've bought shoes there? Have you returned shoes to them?
I never have, but
okay.
I know people who do. Yeah.
And they have this incredible service ethic out there, and they have this really, really high energy, high enthusiasm corporate culture, which is why they give tours to companies who want to come and see how they do what they do. But what's more important is they chose Las Vegas, and they are poster children for building a business of young, enthusiastic people in Las Vegas. Mm. They also have a new governor who's a pro-business governor who has stated as one of his core missions to recruit companies out of California.
That's right.
Who just elected Jerry Brown,
yes.
Whose core mission is not going to be to drive companies out of California, but his actions may do exactly that, because that's what that state has done for a long time. So there's a big picture view on Las Vegas 10 years out that's very, very strong. And that's the way that I want you thinking about real estate. I want you thinking about, can I find something going bad right now that's explainable and temporary? And then inherent in that situation, is there a long-term picture that's actually pretty beautiful, that's very strong? We talk a lot about that short-term pain, long-term gain kind of combination, because you know that we've just gone through a crippling recession, and you know that at some point it's going to end. I have a book coming out called Crash Boom. It's actually on the trucks right now on the way to the bookstores. You can pre-order it. If you go to ownamerica.com, you'll see Crash Boom there. You can get it at, we have links there to Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. But Crash Boom is all about the inevitability of one after the other. So when you have a crash, you're going to have a boom. When you have a boom, you're going to have a crash. And then what comes next, it just keeps rolling that way. Yeah. And when you have a really ugly crash like we just had, because of a really insane boom that came before, what is most likely to happen is something fairly stable, fairly long-term. But this is a post-correction opportunity that's happening right now. So if there are people out there that lived responsibly during the boom, that saved money, that have money on the sidelines, looking for some place to put it where they can use their creativity and they can use their brains to go out and build generational wealth for their household over a long period of time, you're talking right now. You're going to look back, if you don't do anything about this, you're going to regret it, but you can't blame me because you heard me say it, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're going to go, we talked about blue chips and stock options, right? Vegas was the stock options. Now we're going to go to the blue chip area of the Carolinas. We've got on the phone with us right now. Oh, hang on. Do we have him on the phone with us?
Yes.
We do. Okay, Rob Woodul, you there?
Greg, yes, I'm here.
How you doing? Rob is from Carolina One Real Estate. That's the largest real estate company in the Charleston, South Carolina area. And we've talked about the Carolinas on this show a little bit. I'll just set it up by saying that the Carolinas didn't really have as big of a party during the boom of the roaring 2000s as certainly places like Las Vegas or Florida. But there are migration patterns that are moving companies and people into the Carolinas, and particularly Charleston. And so what are you seeing down there? What's the vibe? How are the investors behaving? What's going on in Charleston?
Well, the biggest thing is we've seen the influx of Boeing. They're going to be building their new 757 planes, and we've also got another wind turbine, GE, with our colleges here that they're going to be building here in Charleston. So the feel right now for us is strong, and it's good. What the investor is seeing is that the influx of people that are coming here are not going to buy their first year. They're going to be looking to rent, and that's created a great opportunity. And with the market, with the market the way it is, and the inventory of the market that we have, speaking to investors, they're telling us that the quality of inventory is the best it's ever been, and they are buying properties and holding them, of course, and then putting people in there.
Now, it's interesting. Two things you said. One, when they say quality of inventory, what do they mean by quality? How do they judge that?
Well, I think it was the quality, because we have so much, as a realtor, there's a lot of inventory and we've got to move it out. The investors looking at the amount of inventory that are out there that they can pick and choose, especially if it's a REO property. And, banks are working with people to clean up the houses so it's not an abandoned house and things are ripped out of the house. There's really a great deal, and they're getting to take advantage of that.
So you've got people that are coming in who are seasoned investors. They have some experience. You said that, of course, they're doing the buy and hold. But has that always been the case? Because a lot of people, if you stay awake late at night and you watch some late-night cable, you're going to come across one of those guys. You know who I mean, right?
Absolutely. And, that is an interesting aspect because a lot of people became real estate investors in 2005 and 2006. And they were novice in it, and they're out of it. And the ones that this is something that they worked at, they have a system, they have what we like to call the cash flow positive. They looked at it, they had a business plan for this, and they went after property. When the market went hot, they had to pull back a little bit because they couldn't compete with a lot of people that would get emotional with a property. And now that has fallen off. The novice real estate investors have gotten out of it, and they are reaping the rewards. So
the novices had the buy and flip approach?
Yeah, the buy, flip, and making a quick, taking it, investing in something else. Well, the problem with that is that at the end of the day, the market changed, and they were still holding that property.
Right, that's a really, really important lesson for a lot of people. Buy, flip, a short-term view in real estate investing is really a bad idea. This is a long-term, slow-moving behemoth, and if you're looking for something short-term, go to Wall Street, go to E-Trade. That's the way they play things. But, people talk about getting rich quick in real estate. You can't get rich quick. You can make a score, right? You can buy something for $80,000, flip it for $100,000, you made $20,000. Well, you can't buy a Hyundai for $20,000. You didn't get rich because you made $20,000. So you take that, you roll into another one, try to make another 20. Eventually, the music stops. You get caught, and instead of making another 20, you lose all of the 80 that you just previously piled up over a couple of years, and maybe you get jammed up with a property you can't sell. So I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that the professional investors felt they had to back away because they couldn't compete with the amateurs. And now that the amateurs, it's like when you go out on New Year's Eve, right? New Year's Eve, if you like to go out, a lot of people that go out a lot stay in on New Year's Eve because that's when all the junior varsity is out there on the roads, and you just don't want to be involved in that. Same kind of principle here. So you, Rob, you're also an investor as well, and you told me a story before we got on the air about something you bought kind of near the peak and how your outlook is on that.
Well, I did. I mean, I did my, what I needed to do, and it looked like a good investment. I mean, it is a good investment. But at the end of the day, I put enough down on it that, and putting a renter in it, that I'm going to be okay. But it's going to be long term. It's not going to be something that, 2 to 3 years that, I'm going to, make this big pile of money. It's going to be down the road and taking advantage of a lot of things, of taxes and insurance and so forth. And we're going to be okay. And I think that's the approach that the consumer has to look at this, that, this is, for the investor person, this is long-term. It's not short-term. You said that. But I think another issue that you've got to look at is that we're going to have a lot of what I call white-collar renters that maybe had to short sell their house, or their house got foreclosed on. They got dinged on their credit. They can't go buy. And that's going to be an influx to people who are investors who have property that can rent to them. They make a great living. They just fell on some hard times. Well,
that's exactly right. I really appreciate you saying that. I'm going to get into this in the next segment about the increase in rental households now that home ownership is going down and how this is about as good a time as ever to be a landlord. But listen, I really appreciate you coming on the air with us, Rob. How do people find you?
You can. We welcome everyone coming to South Carolina, especially Charleston. But you can reach me at 697-2313.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, Rob. Have a great day.
You too.
This is Rand on Real Estate. I want you to give us a call. Talk about your real estate ideas, and let's bulletproof some of your plans. Our number here is 800-848-WABC. The rest of the show, we're going to be talking to you, taking your calls. My website is ownamerica.com. My upcoming book is called Crash Boom. You can buy it there. So stay with us. We have a lot more cool stuff coming up.